Okay, this is Mr. Montgomery again. I just want to show you how to set up the market research simulation. That'll be the first simulation that you do. So I'll give you a couple tips on how to complete that as far as what you need to do, what actions you're in control of, things that you can use. So this is your store setup. You don't have any control over that in this particular lesson. A couple things to show you. If you go to File, at any point you can save the lesson you're working on, or you can restart the lesson if need be. For some reason you miss a question, because in the steps you're going to have a series of questions that's going to have you answer. And so you're going to have to click on the right answer, and if you miss one, it's going to take off points in your final simulation. So if you miss a question, I would recommend just restarting the lesson. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Then the view set up here, you have the city view, you have the store view, and you have the back room view, which most people tend to forget about when they get to play the game full out. Then the actions command, you've got your survey options and your radio advertising. This is the main thing you're going to control in this particular one. You have to figure out what is the best way to set up your radio advertising and what radio station to advertise on, because in certain situations some companies, depending on the product you're trying to sell, you may be better to be on a different radio station. Like for instance, if you are selling sports equipment, ESPN radio would be a good way to advertise, because a lot of the people that listen to ESPN radio like sports, so that makes logical sense to advertise on a sports radio station. The reports, this is going to tell you your income statement. That's the most important thing you can look at. This is where it tells you your financials. How much revenue do you have coming in? What are your expenses? And then what is your overall profit? And on this particular one, there's not too much you have to worry about with that, but you have to... Jackson. All right, so that's under reports. And then store traffic, that's kind of interesting to see. Are you getting busier based on your advertising? Currently we have nobody coming in, but will we get customers? So that's important to look at too as well. All right, so let's get started on this lesson. So I'm going to just kind of show you the commands. I don't want to do the steps for you and because that's how you'll earn points and everything. So just how to do the research is what we need to look at. You're going to go to Actions, and you're going to go to New Survey to start a survey, okay? In this particular survey, we want to find out what radio stations do people listen to the most. So I would click on what radio stations you listen to most, and if I want to ask other questions too, like that are important, what groceries do you buy most often? If I'm a grocery store, we're not doing an electronic store currently. What groceries do you buy on impulse? That would be another good survey question to answer. You can even up the number of people you survey. The more people you survey, the more accurate it is going to be. But for this particular thing, 100 people will be fine. So I hit OK, and it tells me majority of the people that live in the area that I'm trying to set the store up listen to WPOP, Techno Pop, and then so 65 people like that out of 100 survey. 35 people said they like classic rock. So by this, looking at this, you can tell probably the best way to advertise will be Techno Pop. Then if I go to the next question and look at what groceries do you most often buy, this will tell me what things I need to carry the most products of. So when I do my product ordering in the future, in a future lesson, I'll need to do some market research to find out, what are they buying most often? And it looks like milk, peanut butter, white bread, detergent, hot dogs, things are buying the most. So you need to make sure that you set that up to order accordingly. If you look at groceries, do they buy on an impulse? So impulse buy, we'll talk more about that later on, but impulse buy is something you don't go in the store to buy, but you walk past it in the aisle, or you see it at the front of the cash register and you decide to pick it up. So impulse buys would be generic cola, wiper fluid, organic chips, nacho chips, whipped cream, salsa, primary cola. Those are considered impulse buys. So a lot of times you want to put your impulse buys next to either a staple item that they might go to buy or in the front of the store. That's pretty typical as far as that goes. I have a major problem with impulse buys. so that's how you do your survey. So now we found out what radio station they listen to most often. Okay. So if I was to now go to Actions and buy some radio advertising, what would I want to? Sorry, my dog's playing with this toy. I apologize. But if you wanted to advertise, you got to find a decent amount to advertise. It's going to give you a budget amount. It's not going to let you spend $40,000 or whatever on it. It's not going to let you spend $50,000. So you have to be reasonable. I'm going to spend, let's go, $15,000 or $1,500 on WPOP, and I'm going to go ahead and still advertise because some customers listen to classic rock. I'm going to spend $500 on classic rock, okay? And this tells me how many people it's expected to reach. This one says they'll reach, with $1,500, they'll reach 100,000 people with the advertisement. This one will reach 25,000 people. So I hit OK, and so then I can go and hit start here and see what happens in my store. Will I start to get business because of my advertising? I can control the speed based on this there. So you can see you're starting to see people come in. Okay, and you have an option to run to. I would always set that up, run to the next week, and just so you can see we're going to run to that Monday so we can get an idea, are we making money or not. Just watching the cash isn't going to give you a very good idea. You want to look at weekly profit. That's the main number you're always going to be worried about. All right, so our weekly profit was $4,969. So that's a good profit. So it shows that my advertising was effective, but I probably went over budget with how much I spent based on the goal they're going to give us here at the end of this. So just to kind of sum it up, so you're just going to go to Actions, New Survey to get a survey, and then look at survey results. Anytime you want to go back and look at those, you can. If you need, and you're going to have to change the radio advertisement. Don't spend more than $4,000 or $5,000 on radio advertisement. That would be way too much. You're going to have to go through these steps. All right, that's part of what your responsibility is. It'll take you through some steps to kind of reintroduce this to you. And then when you're complete, it's going to give you a goal down here, and you have to complete that goal to move on to the next simulation. So please feel free to email me if you have any questions. That's market research. That's the first lesson in virtual business.